Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today on the state of blockchain development. I'm joined by our data journalist, Richard Moore, who will be taking you through the webinar today. And before I hand over to Rich, first of all, hey, Rich, nice to see you.
Hi.
I'll take you through, for those not familiar with SlashData, I'll take you through a little bit about who we are. So for those unfamiliar, SlashData is a developer-focused analyst company. We help the world understand developers through our developer research. We collect a survey of plus 30,000 developers each year. We ask questions about their demographics, firmographics, involvement in areas like web, mobile, IoT, etc., and also new emerging technologies, of course, like blockchain and the metaverse. We collect this data through our Developer Nation survey, where we run the survey twice a year. And this previous wave, if I remember correctly, Rich, was the 24th wave of our survey, and we have the 25th wave of the Developer Nation survey starting now in June 2023. And on the left, you can see the development areas. We ask questions about the audiences they're targeting, the technologies they use, etc. So there's a lot of data we collect, but today we're here to talk about the data and insights that we have about the state of blockchain development. So with that, I'll hand over to you, Rich, to take us away.
Thank you very much, Steve. So I want to start by answering this question, which is how are developers involved with blockchain technologies? Now, in our survey, and this data comes from our Q3 2022 survey, we asked developers how they're involved with a range of different emerging technologies. Technologies such as the metaverse, such as Wi-Fi sensing, but also including 3 different blockchain-related technologies. The first of these we term blockchain applications other than cryptocurrency. This kind of covers the Web3 space. Then we have specifically looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin being the obvious example here. And then non-fungible tokens or NFTs, which kind of came very recently into the public eye over the last couple of years. And this chart shows how many developers are currently working on, learning about, interested in, and not interested in each of these technologies. And we can see that there's a quarter of developers who are currently working on or learning about blockchain applications excluding cryptocurrencies. That's this 9% working on and 16% learning about. And these developers will be the focus of this webinar today. But first, I want to give you some context around the other blockchain technologies. And we see, first of all, is that NFTs garner the least attention from developers. Nearly 3 in 5 say that they're not interested in this technology. And this is likely due to its perception as a novelty technology. There's a lot of hype about NFTs, and a lot of people made a lot of money, and a lot of people lost a lot of money. But it appeared to be a bit of a flash in the pan. This seems to us like the developers are kind of aware of this, and that's why we're seeing much lower interest from them in NFTs. But on the other hand, cryptocurrencies are very, very salient to developers. 27% are either learning on or working with technologies. And as I said earlier, the blockchain applications, excluding cryptocurrencies, are very close behind. We're going to focus on blockchain applications other than cryptocurrencies, as it's our view that these technologies have a very, very wide application and like a very wide range of use cases and a lot of potential to really shape the world. So I'm going to begin by looking at developers' engagement with these technologies from a regional point of view, and then we'll dive a bit deeper into how they view it by experience and which blockchain platforms they're using. So regionally, we see immediately North America and East Asia are the hotbeds of blockchain development. So this is you're kind of familiar with this chart already, and here we have they're currently working on in dark blue, the learning about in light blue, interested in this turquoise color and not interested in. And this is the amount of developers in each region who are working on learning about, interested in blockchain applications other than cryptocurrencies. And we can see that North America really has a large amount of developers, a large share of developers who are working on or learning about blockchain. But we also see great differences by region. When you compare this kind of 32% in North America down to barely 10 or 12 in Eastern Europe, or less in Greater China. So, this shows there's great regional variation in how developers engage with blockchain technologies. But North America and East Asia are the two dominant regions in terms of developers who are currently working on these technologies. But interestingly, further down this list, we see that the Middle East and Africa has a smaller population of developers who are currently working on this. Like it's only 2/3 that of North America. Middle East Africa actually does have the largest proportion of developers who are learning about blockchain technologies. And this suggests that this region could well become very important for blockchain development in the future. And actually, the rapid adoption of new and foundational technologies has a precedent in Africa. The mobile banking revolution, was a really powerful driver of social change in this country, and was driven by a rapid adoption of a technology in a novel way. And blockchain has exciting applications in finance and banking, but there's still some way to go before it can begin to deliver on these promises. But digging more deeply into these developers in the Middle East and Africa, we see that about a quarter of the professionals who are interested in blockchain technologies are also working in the finance and banking sector. And it seems that these developers have seen the potential for this technology to shape and disrupt the banking sector, and they're getting a head start. So if we look at this from the other side, we see that the proportion of finance and banking professionals who are currently working on a learning about blockchain is broadly in line with the average for the region. But the proportion who are interested in blockchain is much, much higher, nearly 30% higher. So we're seeing a large amount of interest amongst finance and banking professionals in the Middle East and Africa. And this really could be something to watch in the future. This is kind of, the beginnings, this could be the beginnings of a very interesting trend, given the region's history and precedence of adopting new technologies very rapidly, and this amount of interest we're seeing from professionals in the sector. So, you can still see there's plenty more to pick apart about blockchain adoption and engagement in these regions. But I want to move on and talk about how developers' experience levels influence their engagement with blockchain. And we see that many of the least experienced developers are actively learning about blockchain technologies. And these constitute a strong pipeline of future contributors. And this chart here shows the involvement with blockchain based on developers' experience levels in software development. And so we can see here we have this bump of those currently working on this bump at around 6 to 10 years of experience. And what this shows is that those with 6 to 10 years are most likely to be working on blockchain projects, sorry. But actually, we see that the least and the most experienced developers, they show the least interest in blockchain projects. So we can see this kind of inverted curve here, where more than half of the least and 60% of the most experienced developers say they're not interested at all in blockchain projects. But we do see that although this curve is very inverted here, where we have a large proportion of the least experienced aren't interested, actually we see there is still good numbers of those who are actively learning about the technology. And this is our pipeline of future contributors. Though the least experienced are amongst the least likely to be working on such technologies, there is still a healthy pipeline of those who are learning about them. So there is a strong pipeline of future contributors to them. And we see this lack of disinterest in blockchain technologies amongst these least and most experienced. But this is there's very different factors driving this situation. And what we're likely seeing is that those with less than a year under their belts they're yet to build their knowledge. Blockchain development is complex and difficult, and these developers may be instead working on building their core skills before trying something a little more challenging. Whereas these most experienced developers may instead be looking to maintain some stability in their career, and with 16 or more years under your belts, some may be reticent to change tack or to add a new skill to their belts. So now we're going to move on to talking about the usage of different blockchain platforms. And the thing that jumps out immediately is that Ethereum is clearly the dominant platform. But what's interesting is its dominance is not only amongst those working on blockchain projects, but also amongst those learning about blockchain projects. So we can see here that all of these dark blue bars signifying the percentage currently working on. Ethereum's is considerably bigger than the next competitor, Binance Smart Chain, 12 percentage points more. But actually, for all of the other blockchain technologies, the proportion who are learning about blockchain and using these platforms is actually lower than the proportion who are working on it. Whereas Ethereum, we see there's actually even more learners as a proportion than those who are currently working on it. So this indicates that Ethereum's ecosystem is in really good shape. Not only is it large in terms of people who are already contributing, but there is also a healthy pipeline of new contributors. New contributors are certainly good news. The utility of a blockchain rises with the number of applications that use it. But one of the pitfalls of blockchain is that it can be slow if there's a lot of transactions on the network. Too many transactions can slow things down and even increase the price of a transaction. This could be problematic for Ethereum. However, they've recently transitioned to a proof of stake model, which is expected to reduce energy consumption by 99% and make the platform more scalable. So, this platform is taking steps to ensure that future growth is permissible. Looking a little further down the list, we see that Binance Smart Chain is the second most widely used blockchain platform. And what we're seeing here is, it's this large mind share. It has this strong link with the Binance cryptocurrency trading platform, but it also is riding on Ethereum's coattails, so to speak. It is very interoperable with the Ethereum blockchain. There's a similar story here with the IBM blockchain. IBM being, a huge technology company, and the blockchain product here benefiting from this mindshare, but also benefiting from its open source roots, such as with the Linux Foundation. The three dominant blockchains here have their market dominance from a number of different reasons. Ethereum has a strong first mover advantage. It quickly, it's the second largest cryptocurrency by market cap and is one of the more well-known blockchains, but Binance and IBM also have strong names to trade upon. So I hope that has been interesting to you. That concludes my talk on the state of blockchain development. So thank you very much for listening, and I'm going to hand back over to Steve.
Thanks, Rich. That was really interesting. I was quite surprised about the least experienced developers, more so than the more experienced developers, but it made total sense what you said about the complication with it. Learning about blockchain. In terms of, say, a more generalized question, can you tell me why do developers get involved in blockchain projects?
Oh, there's so many different reasons for it. There's a lot of developers looking to challenge themselves. Developers as a group are generally in favor of learning new things and keeping abreast of new technological changes. But also, I think there's a really strong incentive for the excitement of building something new and building something that could possibly change the world. And I think that is a really strong draw for developers. Blockchain and Web3 applications are widely touted as the kind of the next step forwards in networked computing and communication. And so having the chance to shape this and to learn about this exciting new area while doing so, I think must be a very strong draw for them. In our research, if you check out the State of the Developer Nation report that this webinar is based on, you'll also see a discussion about developers' personality types. We use an ocean classification to determine their personality types. And one thing we found from a bit of analysis is that blockchain developers are, often more open to new experiences. They score highly on the openness metric of the ocean personality test. And I think that's a really strong indicator that these developers are just, they're just really open to new experiences and looking to learn.
Okay, that's really interesting. And of course, your last slide and piece of information was about blockchain platforms. I know we have the recently released Developer Ecosystem Insight report exactly on that topic about blockchain platforms. What sort of deeper data would you expect to find in that report?
Yeah, well, like you're absolutely right, is that we have the a lot more information on which blockchain platforms are being used and by whom, but we also support that with a lot of different profiling demographic data. So we're looking at where blockchain developers learn to code, what professional developers are doing in the blockchain space, which industries they're in. We also have a section on how to reach them, so where they go to find information about software development, what types of content they use as well. So it's actually a really broad report. There's a lot of information on who's into blockchain, the professional side of it, a really strong section on this kind of outreach and marketing side, and then a really deep dive into who's using different platforms. So there's a real breadth and I hope depth of information in this report.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. And for anyone interested in that report, feel free to contact us. There is a link in the description of this recording. So I think with that, thank you very much, Rich. And thank you for joining us today for today's webinar.
Thank you.